Hello, thank you for tuning in. You are tuned in to The Encourager, and my name is Nehru. Today I have a feeling, although it's later into the afternoon, I already woke up this morning feeling like I was going to share another 10 scriptures in the first book of Adam and Eve, and I am sharing that book and others. I will be sharing others. I haven't yet, but I will, in order to help us all, including myself, get a better, clearer, fuller picture of the absolute truth. Because what we have between Genesis and Revelation, that we historically have called the Bible for the last several centuries, 4,000 years or so, since Constantine, or 2,000, say 2,000 years, since Constantine decided he was going to compress the book and eliminate some things, and then there's some things that have happened, and that happened around 300 AD. That happened, or after that happened, it's been dumbed down, and I use that word on purpose. It's been dumbed down significantly since then. So there have been lots of things that have been hidden from man. So if you take a look at the Vatican, do some research, do your due diligence. Don't take my word for it. Don't take your minister's word for whatever he's preaching or she's preaching between the book of Genesis and Revelation, because if they are not going outside of that, they are probably delivering to you a quarter of the truth, which is a third quarters of a lie, right? So I encourage you to do that. So the book of the Vatican holds books, scripts, things that have been hidden from man that talk about going into your mind conscious, which the Gospel of Thomas talks about. I did share that book, or at least some key verses in that book sometime, I believe, last week. And so if you would like to go and take a look at that video as well, then feel free to do so. Again, that's Gospel of Thomas. And so the purpose of this channel, very quickly, is to help us become more aware of what the actual truth is. And it doesn't matter what that pertains to. So my main focus is spirituality and spiritual truths, as opposed to religion, which is man-made. Spirituality is God-made. That's why the stars and the constellations in the sky are referred to in the Bible. That's why the zodiacs are in the Bible. Yes, they are in the Bible. The zodiacs are. I am a Sagittarius. I am mentioned, the archer, as the Sagittarius is called, is mentioned in the Bible several times. And so I'll be sharing information about that as well moving forward at some point. So again, the purpose of this channel is to help us heal those places that have been corrupted by the ego of man, because that's all religion is the ego of man. The ego of man says one man will stand up and proclaim to you who you are, how you are to act, what you are to do, where you are to give your money, and most of the time that's to them and them only. And you will do this and you will not do that. That is man's rules. When man was created, man was never, but those are, I think I said those are man's rules. Man, when he was created, Adam and Eve were created, they were created strictly from a spiritual standpoint. Any of you who have not heard the first part of the first 10 chapters of the first book of Adam and Eve, after they were exiled from, I like to say evicted from the Garden of Eden, please feel free to look at that video as well. But you will see how man was a spiritual light, had no awareness of his physical body, what it looked like to walk on the ground. That book in one of the chapters, it speaks of in man's eyes, there were angels. There wasn't a pupil, right? Man saw angels. There were angels in man's eyes. Okay, that's how divine man was. That's how highly ascended man was. And so Christ, Yashua, he came, and that promise is spoken of originally. The very first promise is not in Genesis or in Numbers or in Leviticus it was back in the first book of Eve when Christ was promised. He said after Adam and Eve were exiled from the Garden of Eden, it speaks of there will be a word that will come in 5,500 years. And that was when Yeshua was birthed into the earth. Sometime in the fall, not the winter, because it's cold. He was born in a manger, which is essentially a tent. If he was born in that type of environment or a hay shelter, if he was born in that environment, there's no way he would be born in December because it's freezing, right? So you would not give birth to a child, and that certainly Yahweh would not direct Mary and Joseph to be in that situation, right? Giving birth to a child, and it's, I don't know what the average temperature is in the wintertime in Bethlehem, but I'm sure it's pretty chilly. So a lot of it, again, if you give thought to it, do a little due diligence, you'll find out that just doesn't make sense. So Christmas is a man-made thing. Christ wasn't born in December, and certainly not on December 25th. So that's a marketing ploy. So anyway, that's the purpose of this channel, is to expose things. And again, the majority of them are spiritual and that focused, because that's my focus. That is what is in me, just like there are passions in you. And I encourage you, this channel, hopefully through this channel, encourage you to explore those things as well. Okay, so today I'm going to speak on something, and this probably won't be very long. It's already 7.5 minutes or something in, but it won't be very long. So I want to speak on very quickly something I mentioned when I was speaking on the first 10 chapters of the first book of Adam and Eve, and that is racism. Okay, and I'm going to speak on how dumb racism is. And racism, so I am a healer. Okay, so I've healed myself. I've gone through the dark night of the soul. For those of us who are spiritual listening to this, I've gone through my awakening, at least one for sure. And I know for sure we go through several in our life, often in one lifetime. And I do believe that we live many lifetimes. And I do believe that we can travel, if not physically, we can travel spiritually in time, because how else do you explain deja vu? You had to have seen this moment at some point in order for it to be deja vu, correct? You had to have been here in some shape, form, or fashion in order to know that on what's today, the 19th? On 7/19/2023, that you would be sitting where you are, doing what you're doing, watching what you're watching, listening what you're listening, eating what you're eating, driving what you're driving, sitting where you're sitting. You had to have been there at some point in order for you to recognize that being a deja vu moment. Okay, so there's my quote-unquote argument for multiple lives, or being able to, in some form, time travel. Okay. And there are others. You can go on YouTube and you can find many different pictures that show time travel, and how someone's in a picture holding a cell phone from 1920. How is that possible? I don't know. Maybe you have a better answer. If you do, feel free to share it with us. I'd be interested. Okay. So racism. So this is why, as I stated in the other video, this is why racism is dumb. Okay. So I heard Serena Williams, right? Which I have nothing against Serena. She's a phenomenal tennis player, and certainly rated number one of all time with her. I think she has 20-something Grand Slams, 23, 4, 5. I don't know how many Grand Slams she has, but she's no one's done and Grand Slams and things like that. From what I understand, no one's done what she's done, male or female. So that says a lot. Okay, so you find the female that averages 35 points a game throughout their career, and you will find someone who's at the caliber higher than a Michael Jordan, because he didn't even average that throughout his entire career. Okay, he's at like 30.4 or something like that. It's been eons since I looked at his records or his stats. But anyway, so no doubt about her skills when it comes to the tennis court. However, she was asked a question that does not give her children, her and Alexis's children, her husband, the best opportunity, or her children the best outlook on life. So our children come to us, they are seeds, and they are a gift, and we have only temporary. I don't care what kind of parent you think you are. You better listen to me. I will tell my mother and my father today, if they say something and I don't like it, I will tell them to kiss my ass, because I'm grown. I'm almost 50 years old. I'm not under their authority anymore. I do whatever the hell I want to do, because I have my own soul. I have my own accountability. They can't tell me what to do. All they can try to do is advise me. I can take their advice or not. That's up to me, because I'm at the age of accountability. Well into the age of accountability, okay? So don't try to be a parent to your child or your son or daughter. I'm going to say son or daughter, because a child needs parenting. A kid needs parenting. So again, me being a high empath, words are extremely important. That's why I pause so often in between what I'm saying, because I'm trying to pick out the very best word to express exactly. So instead of just speaking all willy-nilly, right, and just throwing words out there, okay? So Serena was asked a question about why did she marry a white man. So first of all, I'm going to help us, hopefully, some of us, identify the undercover racist, okay? So, and this is not a bash against my parents. My father was a polygamist for 30-something years, and he took my first wife. I love him today. I haven't talked to him in 20-something years as far as verbal communication is concerned. I've sent him one email. He responded ugly. That was probably 10 or 12 years ago. I haven't reached out to him since. Today he's serving a 44 to 66-year sentence for getting a 15-year-old pregnant. So in 2009. Amongst other crimes, including running from the law. The FBI busted down his door and all of that sort of thing in Ohio. So I am the eldest of his children, and there are 17 of us. So anyway, I have nothing against my parents today. They make choices just like we make choices. I made great choices. I made poor choices. I made so-so choices. I made horrible choices. We all do that, right? I make far less of horrible choices, bad choices, or even questionable choices today, having been awakened. I don't sin every day. There's no reason to ask for repentance every day. All of that's religion and religious, and that's insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. So I'm going to use my parents as an example. So growing up, and even today, there are things that my mother will say. She will say, this white man in the store. Now, so if you want to understand, and again, they grew up in that era. They grew up in the civil rights era. So there's some healing there that still needs to be done in them. There's still some healing in there that needs to be done. Because today I can go to Harvard. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying there's not racism. Racism is across the board. It happens in Asia just like it happens in America. It's across the world, because that is a spirit. That is a demonic spirit, right? And that is a low vibration spirit. So, and that comes to steal, kill, and destroy, however it can, right? That's why you have supremacists on either side, right? The Black Panthers are a supremacist group, right? But so are KKK, right? It's all in the same, right? Right? That's why the ones who fight for these things are often assassinated, right? So that's why Dr. Martin Luther King, right, was unalived, because he was fighting for equality, not to place brown people above Caucasian. That's not what he was going for. It was equality, but again, the enemy comes to steal, kill, and to destroy. Okay? Same thing, when Malcolm X decided to go against the teachings of Islam, boom, what happened? His own kind. Okay? So again, just facts of history. Okay? So if someone makes a statement to you and they identify someone first by the color of their skin, that person is an undercover racist. That black man, that white woman, that Puerto Rican woman, that Puerto Rican man, that is a racist. They will not come out and tell you that, but yes, they are. Because if they were not, they would not need to identify themselves or identify someone else with the color of their skin or their nationality or ethnicity. Okay, so I've had the same best friend for 30-something years now. More than 30 years. 30 years was this year, last year? Last year. I think I met him in like January of 92. Okay, and so him and I have been best friends. Even throughout my military career, I was gone for 8 years, all of that, right? So his kids call me uncle and all of that. He's a Caucasian guy. His wife's Caucasian. Their kids are Caucasian. His mom, who considers me a son, I was the first person that she told to call outside of her blood relatives when she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer in 2018. Right? So my best friend called me. She said, call him. Tell him. Okay? And he told me that she wanted him to call me first. Okay, so I don't refer to him as, my white best friend. That is ignorance. Ignorance. Okay, so this is how dumb racism is. And so that's one way how you can identify someone who is, because otherwise, what? There was a man in line at the store. Why do you have to identify his ethnicity or his race? What purpose is that? That's why I don't answer those dumbass questions when people ask you on applications. And as you can tell, this is a subject that lights me up because it's stupid, right? I have been the only brown person at times. So the last 13 years, I've been an accountant, tax accountant, bookkeeper, as most people start out, accounting manager. I've had various titles, right? And since 2018, I've been self-employed. So there have been times when I was employed and I was the only brown person who wasn't in the warehouse having to drive the truck, doing some other form of manual labor, right? And I honestly, without a doubt, believe that it's not just your smarts. I believe if I carry the energy of racism, I would not have been allowed in those positions. So I was managing the multi-millions of dollars. I was doing the payroll, right? I was doing those things, right? And that's not to say that people who are racist can't do those things. They can, right? But to me, my vantage point, it's allowed me to hold positions that it would not allow other people to, and to have relationships, right? Business collaborations and things like that with people who I would not if I carried a race card. Okay, and again, I'm not saying it's not being done and it's not a real thing, because it is, and it's around the world. What I'm saying is my perspective and my opinion has helped me achieve things and secure opportunities and business relationships that I would not have if I thought otherwise. Okay, so anyway, so Serena was asked, why did she marry a white man? Okay, and I don't remember exactly what she said. Verbatim, I don't remember. I didn't write it down or record it. But the point I want to get to is what she said that she tells her daughter. Okay, and she said that there are bad things. She alluded to there being bad things done to black people, and you're going to have to deal with who you are or being black or something like that. Like, don't sow those seeds into your kids. Kids are not birthed with hate. They're not birthed discriminating. Okay? That brown baby loves that Caucasian baby, Asian baby, Spanish baby. They love them all, I guarantee you. Hate, discrimination is a seed that's sown. Okay? So, and I thought to myself when she was telling her daughter this, I was thinking, is that really how you want your child to grow up? Like, grow up seeing a difference between me and you? No, absolutely not. Because when you do that, you constrict their opportunities. I can go to Harvard today just like that Caucasian man can. I can go get a job and become the CEO if I work my way up through the company, just like the Caucasian man can today. I can go to any restaurant here in America, just like the Caucasian man can today, right? That is what and again, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There's plenty of evidence of racial profiling and all of that, okay? I personally have never gone through that, ever. My high school, I went to Naperville North High School in Naperville, Illinois for the first 2 years of high school. There were 44 blacks and 2,500 students in that school. That's how Caucasian the school was. Okay? So, do you think there was discrimination there? Yep. Do you think it happened to me? Maybe. I don't know. Because I have friends of the rainbow. There are all kind of colors. And I always have, right? So even in my personal life, what have I done? I've dated brown, and ironically, the 2 women that I have married, one left me for my father, right? And he took her while I was stationed in Germany, right? Waiting for her and my daughter to come over there, right? He made them a part of his cult, okay? So that was the first brown woman. And again, it doesn't matter, but here I'm proving a point, right? That color, it doesn't matter. It's the heart of the person. It's the intentions of the individual. And it's their choices, because we all have a will. Okay? All right. So I have, so the 2 women I did marry are brown, right? So that's what happened to the first one. The second one, when I got a kidney transplant, I was in the hospital in Pittsburgh for 21 days and she didn't even go. Never showed up. For 21 days. Kidney transplant after dialysis for 4.5 years. She didn't show up. So you tell me, right? So, and shortly after that, when I came back and I was well enough, sure enough, I got divorce papers. You better believe it. So, and you might not think that's fair, or you have your own opinion, and that's, again, whatever that opinion is, that's fair, right? Again, we have our own will. To me, I'm going to support you no matter what, okay? Because other than myself, my spouse is my next priority, even over my kids. People got that bass backwards, right? People will put their kids over their spouse. That's not possible. Or that's not the best way to do that. It is possible because people do it all the time. But that's not the best way to do that. Because whoever that woman is, chances are, yes, you have only one child, or you only have that one child. So the spirit of that child and that child's personality and all of that, yes, there's only, however, there are possibly opportunities to have other kids, right? But that person who's standing to your right, on your right-hand side, that woman or that man, there's only one of them, and their parents aren't having another. Because if you're in my age range, your parents are probably 70 or something, right? So 70 or more, so you're not having any more. You know what I mean? So the spouse is each other. Right? That's actually the most important next to yourself. Self-care is the best care, right? So Racism is dumb because we've lived, I alluded to when I first started, that we've lived multiple lives. And not only that, if you believe that we've lived multiple lives, then you know for sure that there is a possibility, especially when you consider the origin geographically of Adam and Eve, that if we lived other lives prior to this one, then we were another race. So I might be brown in this lifetime. My best friend, he might have been brown in the last lifetime, or olive-skinned, or Filipino, or whatever, right? So how dumb is it for me in this lifetime to hate against another individual when in fact I might have been that very same race that I am now hating against? That makes no sense whatsoever. None. Because if you want to talk about equality, you have to start with yourself, and you have to start with your self-introspection, and you have to start with your perspective, your own perspective. And again, fighting for equality is one thing, but I'm going to tell you something. Again, I said I'm a tax accountant, so I follow tax news and companies that are dealing with tax fraud and all these sort of things. I challenge you to look up the tax reports, tax situation, tax news on the organization called Black Lives Matter. Find out how much money they are in the hole for with the IRS. Go ahead, look it up. Look it up. And all these people are running around supporting these groups like they support these false ministers, false prophets, false teachers, running around supporting these individuals because they are functioning as robots and not living consciously. They are simply being led around as sheep to the slaughter. They're just being led around. That's it, right? So again, step outside of that energy and find out the truth. Okay, find out the truth. I use the example of Noah's Ark. In all the pictures, animals are going into the ship, into the ark 2 by 2. But the real story is only the unclean animals went in 2 by 2, and the clean animals went in 7 by 7. Okay? Check out the scripture. But man focuses on the lesser, because man, again, that's just one of their tactics. Okay? So, this is why, in my opinion, why racism is just futile. It just really doesn't make any sense. Because there's I'm going to say 100% chance that you were a different skin color, ethnicity, or race before you were birthed into this world, into a past life. So my past life, for sure, one, my name Nehru, that's India. That's from India. Okay? And so they're not brown, they're olive skinned. Right? So I'm already, what do I look like looking at them like, what is all that stuff, y'all? Why do y'all ceremonies have to be all this? What do I look like? Why do y'all wear that? What's the dot between y'all here? Why y'all do all that? What is that? That is my very heritage. That's my background. Right? How foolish, how ignorant. Okay? So my ancestral bloodline is Egyptian. Right? So, again, this channel is created to heal, to expose, to enlighten, to make aware, all of us, and again, including myself. So I get downloads, right, from Divine Source, and I share some of those things. Some of those things I don't, because some of those things are just, they're meant for me in my daily life, right? So, yeah, I don't share all of those things, right? However, the majority of them, since starting this channel, I do. Okay? And so, again, my name's Nehru. You've been tuned into The Encourager. And again, just a different look on why racism is really a low vibration energy and really is something that even amongst us and these false organizations that we support. So I've said in previous videos that I will not ever join as an accountant or as anything else. And I'm actually phasing out of that industry and going into something focused on spiritual healing, whether that be, I don't know what that's going to be. I don't know. It could be Reiki healer. I don't know what it's going to be, but I do know that occupation is being phased out of my life. I do know that today. So, anyway, thank you for listening, and just another perspective. Hopefully this is eye-opening for someone, because it's what I've been led to share, at least at this point in time in the day, and look forward to sharing the next 10 chapters of the first book of Adam and Eve with you after their exile from the Garden of Eden. And I was having some fun last night and actually recorded some music of me singing, some karaoke, just clowning around. And so that's just one of my avenues that I express. I'm also a painter. I do oil and acrylic painting. Some of the earlier videos show some of those paintings were finished, some of them weren't. But yeah, so I encourage you to express yourself as well in the ways that you do, whether that's through writing, through painting, through music, through musical instruments, and or through your throat chakra, through what you speak. All right, to make this place as good as it can be while you are here, and sow those seeds of positivity, those seeds of light, so that others can hopefully grow with you and through you by way of what you share. Okay? So again, thank you so much for listening, and thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.